BYU and ESPN agreed to a new 7-year contract.
Timmy Allen, up top to Jones. Jones ties it!
BYU men's basketball loses out to the Utes in overtime.
BYU was a top 4 seed last year. This year, BYU will still be at home and open up against New Mexico.
Number 14 BYU women's volleyball hosts the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament starting tonight against New Mexico State.
Expecting this Saturday to be the day that we show exactly what we're made of, show the talent that we have, and the results of all of the preparation that we've put in.
BYU football gets ready for Saturday's rivalry matchup with Boise State.
The Cougarettes' performance at the BYU Spectacular and routine prep for the homecoming halftime show.
Brady with the left foot and puts it in!
And the Lady Cougars soccer team is dominating the nation not only in their on-the-field performance, but also in their fan attendance. Coming home didn't fix the Jazz losing streak this week.
LeBron gets him up off his feet with that deadly pump counted.
Fuller, he looked at who was guarding.
What went wrong and how the Jazz can turn it around this weekend.
Jackson needs 5 and gets none.
We'll tell you what NFL award former Cougar Fred Warner took home this week.
And I'll show you what moment caused absolute mayhem throughout the NBA and how people have been reacting on social media.
Real Salt Lake Academy High School opened their doors 3 years ago.
We'll tell you what new addition is changing the game for female soccer players.
Aladera. Rui Diaz gave his marker the slip and equalizes.
We'll tell you who made it to the MLS Cup and how they got there.
And I'll tell you about the new NCAA law and how people on social media are reacting.
An Eagles fan is taking money originally meant for him and giving it to cancer research.
I mean, I would like to do something with it, turn it into more of a positive.
We'll tell you what unorthodox method started this fundraising campaign.
BYU women's volleyball has another dominating performance.
Rapino curling it inside. It's on the board.
We'll tell you what U.S. women's national team record the head coach broke last night.
It's a trick play. It is set up wide open into the end zone.
BYU and ESPN agreed to a new 7-year contract.
Timmy Allen, up top to Jones. Jones ties it!
BYU men's basketball loses out to the Utes in overtime.
BYU was a top 4 seed last year. This year, BYU will still be at home and open up against New Mexico.
Number 14 BYU women's volleyball hosts the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament starting tonight against New Mexico State. I'm Blake O'Rulian.
And I'm Paul Swenson, and it's time for Sportsline. Blake,
Last show.
it's been a ride, man.
It has
I can't
been
believe
so
it's
much
already
fun.
here.
It's a little cold today.
Yeah, I am chilly.
Yeah, what do you got under there?
Oh, what is that?
It's Jersey Day here in the newsroom.
Is that Dwayne Wade?
Yeah, it's Dwayne Wade. Are you Donovan Mitchell today?
Donovan Mitchell, the next Dwayne Wade.
Oh my gosh, yes, the next Dwayne Wade with a 3-point shot. Anyways, BYU and ESPN agreed on a 7-year deal to televise BYU's home football games.
That's right. The deal will be in effect starting next season.
That's a backwards pass. It's a trick play. It is set up wide open into the end zone.
The deal runs through the 2026 season and guarantees BYU a bowl game when they are eligible. BYU has been in negotiations with ESPN about a contract extension for more than a year. The Cougars' deal with ESPN started in 2011 when they went independent.
The excitement of Yoli Child's returns to the court for the Cougars was squashed this week as they fell to the University of Utah 102-95 in overtime.
Timmy Allen, up top to Jones. Jones ties it!
Yoli scored 29 points in his return from his NCAA suspension until he had to leave the game with 5 minutes remaining in regulation with cramps. BYU held the lead the whole game until the final 2 minutes when Utah came up big with a game-tying 3-pointer from Rylan Jones to send it into overtime. BYU couldn't gain any momentum in overtime, though, as Utah pulled away for the 7-point win. Jake Toulson added 27 points for the Cougars, while Timmy Allen led with the Utes with 27. BYU women's basketball looks to bounce back on the road after a tough loss last week against Utah. The team travels to face Arizona State tonight for the third of 4 Pac-12 teams the Cougars face this season. The Cougars are 6-3 against the Sun Devils, with their last game coming in 2010, a 61-53 victory. The game kicks off at 6 p.m. Mountain Time and can be streamed on the Pac-12 network.
The BYU women's volleyball team begins their quest for a second straight NCAA semifinal appearance tonight after earning a number 14 seed in this year's tournament. This marks the 8th straight tournament appearance for the Cougars, who are still seeking their first national championship in program history.
Continuing the right side of your bracket, BYU was a top 4 seed last year. This year, BYU will still be at home and open up against New Mexico State.
Riding high on 3 straight wins to end the regular season, the BYU women's volleyball team enters the NCAA tournament with a first-round matchup against New Mexico State. This marks the 6th time in the past 8 years the Cougars have earned a seeded position in the tournament, an honor given to only 16 of the 64 teams in the bracket. The Aggies, who finished the regular season with a 27-3 record,
The Aggies keep it alive here.
won the WAC tournament 2 weeks ago and entered tonight's match on a 19-game winning streak.
Hart with the swing. Hart throws the block.
As the 14th seed, the Cougars host the first 2 rounds of the tournament. If the Cougars win tonight, they could face another familiar opponent, Utah.
21 kills for Danny Drew.
The Utes also play today in a first-round matchup with Illinois out of the Big Ten Conference. Illinois finished their season with just a 16-13 record, but the Fighting Illini are tougher than their record implies, as they played nearly half their games against ranked opponents. As for Utah, the Utes finished their season with a 22-9 record and 3 straight wins over Pac-12 conference opponents.
But a lot of positives the Utes can take.
If both BYU and Utah win in the first rounds, the teams will play for the second time this season, but this time with everything on the line. If the Cougars can make it past New Mexico State tonight, they'll be in for another tough test Saturday as well.
Today's games will begin at 4 p.m. in the Smith Fieldhouse with Utah taking on Illinois. BYU and New Mexico State will follow that match at 7 p.m. and the winners of today's games will play Saturday tomorrow at 7 p.m.
On top of hosting the NCAA tournament, BYU women's volleyball dominated the WCC honors. Sportsline reporter Hera Hossain talked to 2 of the standout players about what these awards mean to them.
That's right. BYU's very own senior outside hitter McKenna Miller won WCC Player of the Year, and senior libero Mary Lake also won Libero of the Year for the WCC. These girls dominate on and off the court.
Stratton cross court. What a dig by Miller.
McKenna Miller averaged 3.35 kills per set, totaled 28 aces, 59 digs, and 38 blocks as BYU finished 6-2 in conference play. Mary Lake is BYU's all-time leader in career digs at 1,877 and recorded 234 digs, 88 assists, and 15 aces against conference opponents. Although these girls definitely deserve the awards, they weren't expecting to win them.
My sophomore and junior year, that was my goal. I was like, oh, I want to be Player of the Year. And this year was kind of like, I just want to be playing because I was coming off of my knee. And so I didn't really ever think of it.
It's an honor, obviously, and I'm really grateful. I just was a little surprised because we have some really good liberos in the WCC.
This team has dominated their conference, and McKenna and Mary are just 2 of the 9 BYU players to receive WCC honors. Although they won the awards individually, they give the credit to the team as a whole.
It's not just me, and so it's a really big honor, but I think it's more honor for our team here at BYU.
You don't get any award without a great team, and so I know that that's a cliche, but you don't, and unless your team's successful, it's harder to get that recognition.
Ace serve to win it.
These girls have become a major component to this women's volleyball team, and we're wishing them and the team luck as they begin tournament play. I'm Sarah Hossain reporting for Sportsline.
Thanks, Sarah.
The BYU men's volleyball team was voted the number 3 team in the country in the AVCA preseason poll. Despite their 13-12 record last season, the Cougars will have all 6 starters returning to the starting lineup, and this season they hope to stay healthy. The Cougars will begin their season in the first week of January as they will hit the ground running, traveling to Illinois to face number 6 Lewis and number 11 Loyola Chicago.
BYU men's cross country won the national championship last week, and Sportsline reporter Lindsey Peterson caught up with the head coach to talk about their big win and his coaching legacy.
The BYU men's cross-country team won the national championship last week in dramatic fashion, running through the rain and the mud, but the man behind all the success is head coach Ed Eystone.
Finishing third 2 years ago, second last year, we were that much closer to the top of the mountain, and then to see it finally all come together was a really exciting experience for us.
Coach Eystone is the first coach in NCAA cross-country history to win the national championship as a collegiate runner and as a coach.
Well, they were both really sweet feelings,
After Eystone won the title himself in 1984, he went on to run professionally into the late 90s. He signed a multi-year shoe contract with Reebok, was a 5-time U.S. Road Racer of the Year, and competed in the 1988 and 1992 Olympics. But Eystone knew his running career would come to an end sometime, and that's when he knew what he wanted to do, coach.
Any person who's had a great experience in their college experience would love to return to their alma mater. I knew BYU was a special place.
So besides his accomplished running career, what makes him an exceptional coach?
But I think the number one thing that you have to establish in any successful distance program is consistency.
And needless to say, he has created that consistent team culture in his 20 years as the head coach of BYU men's cross country, with 14 conference titles, 15 All-Americans, and now a national championship. But Coach Eystone knows that no matter his successes, it takes a village.
It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to win a national championship, and I have a great village that I'm a part of.
In Provo for Sportsline, I'm Lindsay Peterson.
Coming home didn't fix the Jazz losing streak this week.
LeBron gets him up off his feet with that deadly pump counted.
Fuller, he looked at who was guarding.
What went wrong and how the Jazz can turn it around this weekend.
Jackson needs 5 and gets none.
We'll tell you what NFL award former Cougar Fred Warner took home this week.
And I'll show you what moment caused absolute mayhem throughout the NBA and how people have been reacting on social media.